and welcome to Women Who Inspire 2020. My name is Elena Hahn, and I'm board chair of Dress for Success Worldwide, an organization I've been thrilled to be part of for over 10 years. I'm so happy to see each and every one of you here tonight. Dress for Success is the only global employment resource for women, and our programs and services have helped more than 1.2 million women across the world achieve economic advancement. Your support tonight helps advance our mission during this time of unprecedented hardship for women who have disproportionately suffered from the effects of COVID. We're really excited to welcome two incredible women for our Women Who Inspire conversation. Rita Wilson, singer, songwriter, actress, producer, and co-chair of When We All Vote, an organization with a mission to increase participation in every election and close the race and age voting gap. And Lucy Kaylin, editor-in-chief of O, the Oprah magazine. In addition to our program tonight, we have some great auction items that are available through bidding through the link you received via text. Please check out these wonderful items and help support the work we're doing. We're grateful to all of our sponsors, and I want to begin by thanking our presenting sponsor, Blue Apron, for their support. In addition to their support of tonight's event, the Equitable Foundation has underwritten our annual scholarship program, Pursuit Beyond the Suit National Educational Scholarship. For over 11 years, Equitable has created pathways for the women of Dress for Success to pursue educational and career advancement goals as they seek to enrich their lives and their livelihoods. I'm so happy to announce this year's winners, and they include Villy Basuki, Michelle Crenshaw, Janine Hegwood, Angela Ojeda, Cheyenne Walton, and Marisol Garcia, who's here tonight to accept the award on behalf of all of the scholarship winners. Congratulations, Marisol.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Equitable Foundation, and thank you, Dress for Success. For 5 years, I was incarcerated. For 3 of those 5 years, I was a student of the Center for Prison Education at Middlesex Community College in Connecticut, where I developed a passion for law and criminal reform. I know that I can't recapture my youth or the lost time that my past actions have cost me, but I can move forward with this scholarship and continue my education and plan for my future. I'm on track to finish my bachelor's degree soon, and I plan to apply to law school following graduation. I'm honored to accept this scholarship and express my gratitude. On behalf of all the winners, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joi Gordon, CEO of Dress for Success Worldwide, and I'm excited that you could join us tonight. Dress for Success was founded more than 20 years ago to advance women's economic independence. Our mission is driven by the belief that when you empower a woman, she in turn strengthens her family and community for the betterment of the world. However, we find ourselves at an inflection point as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to disproportionately impact women around the world. As the only global employment resource for women, we are seeing firsthand how decades of economic progress for women is at risk. Our women are facing extraordinary challenges, from job loss, food and financial insecurity, to even homelessness. I'd love to introduce Sareena, who will share her story of resilience, grace, and courage, and who's motivated, even when challenged, to pay it forward.
What brought me to Dress for Success, it was one of the great women in your organization. And when I was introduced to this program, it was amazing because during that time, I got hurt on the job, leaving a job. And my injuries, the injuries that I sustained, it would not allow me to go back and work in law enforcement anymore. So I felt stuck. I felt unproductive. So when she introduced me to this program, it really changed my life in a positive way because it made me feel like I had purpose now. It gave me the push that I needed in an onward and upward direction. This year has been very challenging. I got sick in March the next month, my dad got sick. He tested positive for COVID. And I took care of him because I got better myself. I've met so many different women, and when we see each other now, as we grow on this ladder, I guess this professional ladder, we see each other and we embrace each other, and we still encourage one another. And so those messages that we get is a message of, okay, I am my sister's keeper. So we make sure that we hold each other accountable and encourage one another in love, so that none of us are left behind. Like, we're walking together, side by side. As women, we wear many hats. We're constantly giving of ourselves to other people, and sometimes we tend to lack to give to ourselves. That's why I believe in self-care. But to give to a woman, I feel like you can never go wrong, because I believe she's getting back. When you give to a woman, she's getting back what she poured out. And it's like a cycle. I give, and then someone gives to me, and then I give to my sister, and then my sister gives to someone else. So that's why I think it's very important to give to women, because I know that women, we pour out to our whole family. We constantly give. We are the caregivers of our families. Coming on this platform and telling my story, sharing it, it's very important to me, because life happens. And I'm grateful for Dress for Success for always reaching out to me to check on me, to make sure that I'm okay. I thank them for the different programs they had during this time. The financial literacy program, the meditation programs, the mental awareness programs. And those are programs that helped me get through this time. I wanted to be able to move forward, and it gave me the courage that I needed. And it's a beautiful thing to give. We should be cheerful givers. We should want to help one another, especially during these times. These times are hard, and I believe the power of giving is the power of loving, and we create love. So I think giving is an expression of love. And so that's why I said we have the power to own, create, and change the energy around us.
Thank you, Sareena. Your story is one of millions that serve as a motivation for us to continue the fight for you at Dress for Success. For those who are watching, you can help women by making a donation tonight. We have women like Sareena walking through the doors of Dress for Success every single day. What these women need most of all is hope. Hope to manage through the storms that threaten to overwhelm them and their families. We need you to open your hearts and give generously. Please check your phones for a text message from us and click on the link to donate. No amount is too small or too large. While you pull out your phones and dig deep into your pockets, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our special guest tonight. Lucy Kaylin, Dress for Success Worldwide board member and editor-in-chief of the Oprah magazine, along with Rita Wilson, co-chair of When We All Vote, singer, songwriter, actress, and producer. Welcome.
Welcome, Rita Wilson. We at Dress for Success are so happy that you're here with us. This is our annual Women Who Inspire event, and goodness knows you fit the bill. Thanks for taking the time. It's such an extraordinary time, and you're just who we want to talk with today.
Well, thank you for having me, Lucy. I love what Dress for Success does and what you are doing and will continue to do. So it's really a pleasure to be here and speaking with you today.
Awesome. Thanks a million. The last time I saw you or was in a room with you, you were receiving the Ann Morgan Woman of Courage Award at the Colony Club in New York City. And I remember you giving just a beautiful and just funny and warm acceptance speech. It made me think about courage, being a woman of courage and what that means to you. Can you speak to what courage means to you, and especially as a woman?
Well, courage is something that I think we're all looking at today, and it's all we're asked to tap into our courage, I think, every day today as women and as human beings, just in this period of time that we're in. And when I think of courage, I do think about the first person who really taught me about that, and that was my mom. And my mom, Dorothy, was born in America, but at 4 years old, went with her family back to their village in Greece. And it was actually on the border of Albania and Greece, but a Greek village. And her father died. And they, instead of returning to the United States where their home was, the relatives in the United States suggested staying in the village, because what would a widow with 4 children do in America on her own? Obviously, this is in the 20s. So they stayed in the village, and over time, as things got worse and World War II came about, the borders were drawn between their village, which now is in Albania, and Greece. And they knew that things were going to get worse, and so they knew that they had to leave their town. So my mom was asked to stay back on her own, as they were all supposed to travel as a group, and she was asked to stay behind by herself to receive a letter, because if the letter had arrived and no one was there to receive it, the guards guarding the village and guarding the border, who were Italian guards at that time, had orders to shoot to kill. So my mother stayed back to receive this letter and to not arouse suspicion, and then left only with the clothes on her back and some silverware that had been brought from America to escape through these mountains. That is courage to me, to do that by yourself, to actually say, I have no choice. People talk about the absence of fear being courage, but I think courage really is when you are in the presence of fear and choose to go on and choose to move forward with the belief that things are going to be okay. So when I think of courage, I think I learned that first story from my mom and also from my dad, but my mom's a woman. We're talking about women today.
Indeed, although I do love the story about him so much, that he came to America and found his surname on a street sign, correct? Wilson Street?
Yeah, and
it's
he
so
was
great.
funny because they kept on asking him, how do you spell your name? Well, how do you pronounce it? What is it again? Can you say that again? And so he thought if he changed it to Wilson, that was a name no one would ever ask him how to spell.
Such a great story. There are so many things to talk about with you, Rita. You do so many things, and it seems like you do every one of them well, really well, as a prolific actor, as a producer, of course. But I'm sort of wondering if, along with, possibly many other things, the singer-songwriter space has become your happiest space. It seems like that's really been giving you a lot of joy. Do you want to tell us about that, and also about finding your voice, literally and figuratively?
Well, I've always loved music, that's for sure. Acting took a priority because I was working so much, but I think the real moment, or the aha moment, as Oprah would call it, was when I had done one album called AM/FM. It was a cover album, so there was cover songs on there. I didn't write anything. I met Cara Diagordi, the songwriter, and she asked me, what is it that you want to do? And I said, well, I would love to be able to write music like you, but I don't play an instrument and I don't read music. And she said, well, I don't either, but do you have something you want to say? And when she said that, I really had that aha moment. I said, yes, I do. And she said, all right, I will write your first 2 songs with you. So that ended up being how I got into songwriting, and that expanded into writing with people in LA and Nashville. And now I'm, I think, 4 albums in, and it has been in a way, because acting, you're using someone else's words and you're creating a character, and you can hide behind that character, and so much of what you do is out of your hands once you finish it. You give it to an editor in a movie, and a director and an editor work on that performance. But with songwriting, I feel that it's a more intimate experience, in that even if you're writing with someone and you're writing about an experience or story that may not be your own, it feels like your own. And in that way, I think acting has been helpful in the songwriting process, because I'm able to imagine what it would be like to be a person who's going through a certain experience. I'm thrilled that I get to be able to do this, and I love it. And I think music is such a powerful and healing force. Just generally, I use it all the time for altering my mood, whether it's for getting on the treadmill or taking a walk or chilling out or whatever. So I feel very, thankful that we have music in our lives.
Or it could be when, you're dealing with COVID-19 and you're quarantining and you decide to do a remix of Hip Hop Hooray, right? One of the most delightful, fun, funny things for anybody listening to this who doesn't know what I'm talking about, please, when you're done watching, you've got to Google Rita Wilson, Hip Hop Hooray. So it's just such a fun remix. And of course, Vin Rock got a huge kick out of it. And then you guys got together and remixed a version that's now for doing good. It's for charity.
Yeah,
tell us that experience.
We did a remix of Hip Hop Hooray that is, if you go to YouTube, to the Naughty by Nature website, you can play it and donate, or you can stream it. No matter when you stream this song, money goes to Music Cares COVID-19 Relief Fund. So that was the great thing about it. And it was inspired by the fact that after I had COVID-19 and started to come out of it, within like the first week after having it, I had a little bit of fuzziness. Like, I found it hard to focus initially. And I had learned Hip Hop Hooray for a movie I did called Boy Genius, and my character had to perform it. So it took me a month to learn that song. Like, don't think I just, was able to whip that up instantly. Like, oh, I like that song. It took me a month to learn it for the movie. So I thought, let me see if I still remember it and if I can still spit some flow. And so I did, to my surprise. So I just taped it and put it on my Instagram and went to bed, because I was in Australia, and woke up the next morning to, I guess a lot of people watching it, which was hilarious, and it was great. And that's what inspired Naughty by Nature to say, yeah, let's do a remix of this and, put it out there. I loved them so much. They were so generous and so great. And one day when we go back on tour and they start touring, they have invited me on stage to sing with them, which I'm not going to turn down.
My God. Oh my gosh, I'm going to that. It's phenomenal. It's so great. It's like the ultimate lemonade out of lemons situation. There you are quarantining and you do this great thing. It's really, really awesome. Speaking of great things that you do and that you're doing, you are of course a co-chair along with your husband, Tom Hanks, and many others for Mrs. Obama's When We All Vote initiative. I can hardly think of a more important cause. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how it works and how you got involved?
When We All Vote is a bipartisan effort to get people registered and to get people voting, and get people voting in a way that is intelligent and smart for what works for their lives. You can vote by mail, you can you can vote in person, and you can vote early. And, you know, it was distressing to hear that in Atlanta, there were 8-hour lines the other day for voting early. So the importance of being prepared. And as Mrs. Obama says, have a plan so that if you have something that you know you're going to do and it doesn't work, then have a plan B. It's sad to think that we have to have plan Bs when it comes to something that is a right in our country. And to me, why it's so important and why even being a bipartisan effort, it's so important is that my parents escaped communism to come to America, to be free, to live in a country that would allow them to have a voice and allow them to have a say in what their lives were like and their futures were like, and not only their futures, but their children's future, of which I am a beneficiary of the sacrifices that my parents made. So to me, voting is not something you can take lightly. It's not something that doesn't have an effect. I think when things were running smoothly and things were okay, then maybe people had the feeling that they could let it slide or that their votes were not really going to be mattering in the same way. But one of the things that I think is so important is not just for the presidential election, but for elections like mayor, district attorney, board of education. These positions are positions that hire other positions and make decisions about our lives that and our children's lives that will be affected. So, for example, the Board of Education, whoever is the superintendent, is the person that decides what's going on in our schools and how education is going to be delivered to our children and what books will be chosen to be part of the curriculum. And so it's important that if you have a strong opinion about that, to do your research on each of these candidates, each of these bills and measures, and all of the information is available online. So to me, it's really about taking the time. It doesn't take a lot. Mrs. Obama talks about a voting squad, which is people that in your world and in your life that you've either gotten registered to vote with or that you will go to the polling places with, or even review your ballots together and see what's the information that's out there. And if you have questions, get the answers. So I think it's kind of like, if you look at it like a book club, you know, we're going to be getting together and we're going to be looking at all of these things and making informed decisions. And it's so important. And I think it's very empowering. And if you thought that your voice doesn't matter or your vote doesn't count, I would ask you to think again. It really does.
Well, they think back 4 years ago. I mean, of course, as we know now, the numbers were really bad. There were a lot of people just chose to stay home, and I don't know how I can't speak for how they feel about what happened, but you know, I do think it's starting to bubble up as a big truism for us all. Elections matter; they really matter, and you know, it could not be more important. I mean, I think about this idea of cynicism. I mean, one is the idea that you know, that I mean, maybe people who look at you know, the people involved in the initiative, and they're famous and blessed and you know, and all of that. And people can be cynical about, you know, famous people having a voice, which seems absurd to me. They can be cynical about whether they have a voice. I mean, I wonder if you share the feeling that I have, which is it's poison, cynicism. It just really, nothing can be accomplished if that's, you know, if that's the driving emotion.
I think in the past, it's always been sort of an accepted thing to keep politics out of entertainment. And
Right.
if you're an artist, if you're a performer, if you're an actor, to sort of be neutral in that way. And I think what's changed is technology. What's changed is reach, and what's changed is people wanting to use their voices in a way that is reflective of what they believe. I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think there's a time and place for everything. Like I think if people are coming to a concert or something, that, you know, it's entertainment and you are there to listen to music and, or, you know, whatever you're there to do, enjoy yourselves. So for me, I think it's, you know, how you use your voice and how you choose to use your voice must be thoughtful and must be truthful and authentic to what you do. And sometimes that means that you will lose followers if you're, you know, concerned about that. And sometimes it means you'll gain followers. But I think, you know, we're trying to connect with each other. We're not trying to separate from each other, and we're trying to understand other people's points of view, because everybody has value in what their opinions are. And we have to understand, we can't just say my way is the right way and nobody else's is the right way. I think it's about listening and saying, okay, what is it that you're trying to get to? Because sometimes these things are gotten to through conversation, through honest discourse and conversation, and not just battling and arguing.
Exactly right. You know, I feel like, you know, so many things are coming together, obviously, at this moment, and a huge factor has been Black Lives Matter. And I'm just wondering how that has impacted you and how much that is playing a role in your current work on behalf of getting the vote out.
So important. I have a granddaughter who is mixed, and she's Black and white. And for me, I look at her future and what is it that is going to be, what is she going to inherit from us? And I want to make sure that she doesn't have some of the same problems that her mother's generation had, or her grandmother's, or her great grandmother's generation. And part of that is by listening, and part of that is by doing my own work to see what I can do to change that. And we know a lot about systemic racism now that we did not, as a white woman, I thought I knew it, but I didn't really know it. So Black Lives Matter and all organizations that are working to combat systemic racism are not only educating us, but also putting it out there that things have to change. We can't go with what we were doing.
I completely agree. It's such a difficult time, but it's such an interesting time. And you know, I think it's extraordinary how, I mean, you know, you're very serious minded with the things that you've taken on. And you know, I know you've dealt with breast cancer yourself. You do a lot of work for women's cancer research and for the arts, and you've been, you know, great on AIDS and all kinds of things. And yet at the same time, I personally find you to be just such a joyful, effervescent person in the way you present to the world, which is something that gives me a lot of joy, just sort of the way you do things. And I was just wondering about maintaining that balance, keeping the joy, and really, you know, what is your message of positivity amidst all the things that we're wrestling with?
You know, if you get up in the morning and you can breathe and you're healthy, there's always hope that things can get better if things are bad. When I did experience being diagnosed with breast cancer and having bilateral mastectomy, you come in contact with mortality in a way that you have it in the back of your mind. You know that you're getting older, you know that, you know, there might be something in your future, you've lost friends. And when you encounter that, really for me, I get up every morning and say a prayer of gratitude. I go to bed every night with a prayer of gratitude that I am here, that I can continue to do work that can impact lives in the charity work that we do, but also to just be thankful for this one life that we have. It sounds like a cliche, but it's true. You know, my parents used to say, oh, if you have your health, you have everything. And that is true. If you have your health, you have everything, even when things are down and things seem horrible and you're struggling. If you have your health, at least you don't have sickness to deal with on top of all of the other things. Mm-hmm. So I am a big believer in faith. I'm Greek Orthodox. I practice, and that gets me through a lot. It really does.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. You know, I also feel like, you know, the way you showed up, for instance, on our pages in the current issue of Oprah magazine, we're just delighted that you're in our fashion story. And it got me to thinking about, you know, looking good, and not so much personal style or what have you, but it's rarely, isn't it, Rita? It's rarely about getting to have, you know, the great thing to wear. It comes from within. I mean, the photographs are so beautiful, and it's just like,
I haven't seen them yet. So
oh, they're so great. I was tempted to bring an issue and like hold it up, but I guess probably not the best way to do it, but they're beautiful. And it just got me to thinking about that. I mean, that's, you know, it's nice clothes are nice, but there's so much more in the pictures and in, you know, the way we meet the world, if indeed we're positive, hopeful people the way you are.
Well, thank you for that. That's such nice compliments. I look forward to seeing the magazine. During COVID, I have to say, during quarantine, I got so used to wearing sweats. And, you know, I like getting dressed up, don't get me wrong. And I will continue to do that. But I really liked wearing my sweats. Sometimes, you know, it's like business on the top, party on the bottom, you know, like
100%. I've got pajama bottoms on right now. I do.
Love that. And
right.
But what I feel about fashion is I love fashion, but one of the things I cannot tolerate anymore is being uncomfortable. So I look at clothes that are going to be comfortable, but still reflect a certain style that I love and that that are fashionable. But I'm just not going to wear things that are really uncomfortable. And I think I said in the interview something about like, can some designers please all get together and have this whole decision that they make that flats are in? We're not ever wearing heels again. Flats are the chicest things on the planet. This would make me so happy.
Yeah. No, I mean that, you know, now here are this designers. That's where the big money is. Make some really chic flats, and we're going to be happy ladies.
Yes.
Right?
Or make a version of the heel in a flat. So like, I mean, I understand heels. That's great, but I don't want to be uncomfortable anymore. But look, I love fashion. And so that's the thing. But if you look around and you do your kind of thing, there's nothing that says that you have to be uncomfortable to feel gorgeous, sexy, powerful, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I look at people in my age group and I just think they look amazing. I love that, you know, you come into your own for sure. And you start saying, I am not going to do anything that I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to wear anything I don't want to wear. I'm not going to say anything I don't want to say. You just start empowering yourself and finding your voice, metaphorically and literally in a different way. And I think that's so liberating.
Yeah, I completely
That's why I
agree.
have curly hair now. Like curly hair, the COVID and quarantine liberated me from my weekly blow dry. And now I just wash it and air dry it. And okay, maybe it looks like I need a brush, but with curly hair, You can't brush your hair, you know that.
Why would you ever want to look different from the way you look right now? No, it is awesome. So Dress for Success, of course, you know, we're all about women helping women. That's very much at the core of what we do. Can you just speak to that a little bit? I mean, you're a strong woman who helps. I mean, what's the, you know, what's incumbent upon all of us as women in terms of helping each other and being in touch with what each other's facing, and how much stronger we can be together?
One of the things I always wished for and wanted when I was growing up was a mentor. I never had that. I really didn't have it. And I think when you are younger and especially in your 20s, it's so important to find someone that is doing what you're doing or in the line of work that you want to be in, or has the kind of values that you have, and ask, how do I do this? How do I manage? How do I balance? How do I make this happen that feels right for me? I didn't really have that until my 30s when I met Nora Ephron. And Nora Ephron, the writer-director, really became that mentor for me. And she was the one who taught me that I could write. The first time I ever wrote anything, she said, you can do this. And she went through my drafts with me. She taught me a very wonderful thing about writing that I like to share, because I think a lot of people out there write. And it's this: tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And she said, all journalists know this. You know, she was a journalist before she became a screenwriter and a director. And I loved that. And that's something that a mentor can give you. My mom was a mentor in the sense of just her experience. Sometimes you just see how someone lives and who they are as people, and that can be a form of mentorship as well. Mm-hmm. I believe in helping women. I believe in helping young women. I think asking questions is so important, not being afraid to say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? Is so important. And that requires an element of vulnerability, I think, that sometimes is hard to come up with, because it's almost like saying, I don't know what I'm doing. But it's not that you're saying you don't know what you're doing. It's that you're saying, I want to understand how to do this better and in a way that's right for me, because somebody else's style may not be your style and might be a completely different thing. So asking questions, associating with people that are doing the things that you want to be doing, or living a life that you respect and admire, trying to find those people in your life in a mentorship kind of way is always so helpful. And seeking out resources like Dress for Success that are available on the website. You can go there and find out so many different ways to utilize what's available to you on the website.
It's interesting what you just said about, you know, saying when you don't understand something. Something that I've always said for, you know, as long as I've been an adult is the smartest people I know across the board always are the ones who are okay with saying, I never heard of that. I don't know what that is. Tell me about that. They're always the smartest ones.
Right.
Right.
Understand. I remember once I was at a Maria Shriver's conference for women when she was first lady, and Madeleine Albright was being interviewed by Christian Amanpour. And Christian asked Madeleine, you know, what was it like always being the only woman in the group? And she said in the beginning, she would sit around and she would be in this conference room of men or committee, and the men were not really making sense and not really getting to the point. And she had in her head what she would say. And eventually some man would say exactly what she was saying. And she went like, oh, and everybody would go, oh, that was genius. But that moment for her taught her that her opinions were in her own head were being validated and were valued. in the group. And that's very hard to do sometimes when you're a woman in a room of men. So I learned that experience I have had myself, where I have been in a room thinking, oh, just say it. And now that I'm older, I do just say it.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about getting older. But
For sure.
I would encourage younger women to use their voices in that way, and don't hesitate, because sometimes that window goes so quickly. Like, we all know that people like to over talk each other, so it's really hard. You have to just get in there. There is not going to be a pause in the conversation that look, and then they look to you and they say, and what would you like to say? No, you kind of have to, dig into it and just get in there and say your piece.
And also, just in terms of the women that we serve at Dress for Success, a lot of them, are coming through very difficult things. They may have lost their job. They may have been dealing with, just other situations that make it very hard to sort of get up on your feet and feel hopeful. And I would love for you to speak, if you could, about why there is hope, why you're hopeful, and why you hold out hope for them and for all of us.
I have learned, even in the dark times, to be grateful for whatever good is present in your life. And that can be a simple thing, from a conversation with a friend, your health, your children, their smiles, supportive people in your life, because it is, in a way, one day at a time. And today doesn't mean that it's going to be the same exact thing a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. So the key might be just being aware that today is just today, and it doesn't mean it's going to be tomorrow. And finding those moments of gratitude that you can be aware of in your life that make you feel that there is some good there. And I kind of think it's important to do little things that are good for yourself, that make you feel good about yourself every day. And whether that is just sitting with a cup of tea, or listening to a song that you love, or some music, or taking a walk, things that you do for yourself are very, very helpful, and can be very healing in getting to the next moment or out of a mindset.
That's wonderful. Finally, for when we all vote, the single best, easiest thing anyone listening can do right now in terms of getting involved, going to the website, advancing the cause of this election, what would that be?
I would say, if you need any information at all, go to whenweallvote.org. They will have all the information there about registering to vote, deadlines to vote, voting by mail, voting in person, and voting early. So it's whenweallvote.org. All of the information is there. And I would check it out if you haven't checked it out yet.
Awesome. Rita Wilson, thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. And I think
it's a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Lifted us all up. Really, really wonderful. And I can't wait for you to see the issue of O, and I can't wait to hear more songs, and I can't wait to see you on the other side of the election, giving us hope in all sorts of other ways too. Thanks a lot.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello to all the women at Dress for Success. I'm Lonnie Love, a proud supporter of this great organization for women. The mission statement for Dress for Success resonates with me so well. Before I became an author and talk show host, I was an engineer. I got my first corporate job at 22 years old, and it was a culture shock. My whole team were middle-aged men. I can remember having Monday morning meetings, and we would go around the table to talk about what we did for the weekend. The men would say things like, oh, we took the family to Big Bear Mountain this weekend. My kids had a play. When they got to me, I would say, I went to the Snoop Dogg concert. I was different, but I stayed true to who I was. That was all I could do. And that is what I hope for all of you ladies working with Dress for Success. You are just as good. You have the look, you have the training, you just need to be yourself. I wish you all well. Keep up the great work.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Borneo. and I'm the Senior Director of Program Operations at Dress for Success Worldwide. In March of 2020, as the corona pandemic devastated communities across the globe, leading to stay-at-home orders and dramatic closures of businesses and schools, we knew that the women we serve across our entire affiliate network would be greatly impacted. It was clear that we had to move quickly and efficiently to make a significant shift in the way we delivered programs and services so that women, all women, any woman, could access information she would need to survive in these unprecedented times. Prior to the pandemic, women were already among the most economically vulnerable, and now they were facing new and unforeseen challenges. We listened as notable financial agencies reconfirmed that the majority of frontline workers hit hardest were women: nurses, teachers, flight attendants, retail and service industry workers. They were women who still had to be mothers and caregivers in their homes. Our worldwide team and affiliates became the first responders to our clients, transforming our entire operation over the course of 1 month to provide virtual workshops on relevant topics like managing finances and budgeting during times of uncertainty, managing anxiety, self-care, the importance of networking, nuances of the now virtual job search, and professional survival tips. All of these led by global experts who wanted to donate their time and expertise to help the women in our communities. We've also been able to provide opportunities for one-to-one personal coaching, resume review work, and best practices for virtual interviews. Many women have stayed with us, and many more have found us. Today, almost over 90% of our affiliates are offering virtual programs and services. The response has been tremendous. In fact, it's not unusual to see women on our workshops from Canada, from Mexico, New Zealand, or even New Jersey. Our women have stayed close to us and to each other. Many have shared that if not for Dress for Success, they would have felt alone and without the resources and community they rely on in good times and bad times. We're still here. We have made it through most of a pandemic, and we're moving forward. But we already know that there will be many challenges ahead for women. 1 in 4 women have experienced some degree of change in their employment status. They've been terminated, furloughed, experienced paycheck shrinkage, or voluntarily downshifted because of the complexities they face juggling job pressures, homeschooling, and taking care of seniors. The majority of women have experienced a much harder time than men navigating these current storms. Our services, and more importantly, our ability to provide stable networks of support have helped over 1.2 million women survive and thrive and give back to each other. As this evening comes to a close, we ask you to consider what you can do to ensure that this organization can continue to provide these life-changing programs and services to women across the globe. If you would like to make a monthly contribution to continue inspiring women in our community, please consider becoming a founding member of the Success Club, our new giving community. To join or learn more, contact us at worldwide@dressforsuccess.org. Once again, thank you to our wonderful sponsors for helping to make this evening possible. And I'd like to extend a special thank you to you, our attendees. Not only do we appreciate you, but our women especially appreciate you. You inspire them. Don't forget to use the link we sent to your phones to place your bids at our silent auction. And please, make a donation. Have a wonderful evening and good night.